Welcome to the Principles of Performance podcast, where we discuss how to optimize your health, fitness, and performance. Drawing on decades of experience of working as coaches, consultants, and trainers to top performers, athletes, and teens from professional sports to top universities to the U.S. military, Eric DeGatti and Mike Perry discuss topics and strategies of how to perform at your highest level and be your very best. Join us and our friends and colleagues who are leaders in the fitness and performance industry as we investigate and challenge the most popular training, nutrition, lifestyle, and recovery protocols. And away we go. Here we are with the Principles of Performance podcast. I am your host, Eric DeGatti, along with my friend and co-host, Mike Perry. Mike, we're going to talk about something that is very near and dear to our hearts today, training and developing trainers and coaches and developing systems.
Yeah, that's something that we talk about basically nonstop and 24/7. And we have someone today that's been implementing that for quite a long time. And before I steal the bio thunder, I will go ahead and let you introduce our guest, but you guys don't want to miss this one today.
Yeah, great one. We have Kyle Sottung, who's the Director of Programming and Product Development for IronTribe Fitness in Birmingham, Alabama, where he manages all aspects of program delivery, athlete experience, quality control. They have over 30 locations in their fitness brand. And prior to joining IronTribe, he was a head strength and conditioning coach at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, RPI, in Troy, New York. And before that, he was the director of sports performance at Taft Speed Academy with the great Lee Taft. We're huge Lee Taft fans here. And he holds a BS and MS in exercise and sports sciences from Ithaca, as well as countless certification alphabet soup that's from CSCS, USAW, StrongFirst, RKC, CrossFit, FMS, TRX, FRC, Precision Nutrition. There's probably more in there. I just can't even get to them. Kyle, welcome to the show.
Guys, thank you so much. And I'm super excited to talk to you guys. After obviously meeting you guys at your PPD seminar and following Mike for a really long time, seeing your podcast and seeing the list of names on this podcast, I mean, these are the people that I grew up learning from. I mean, Gray Cook, Charlie Weingroff, Mark Bubbs, Eric Cressy, John Berardi, Mike Boyle, to have my name listed next to them, along with the guy that taught me more than anything about strength and conditioning and fitness in Lee Taft, who was my mentor for 2 years after college. To be able to be in that same list as those guys is just such a huge honor for me. So I really appreciate you guys reaching out and setting it up.
Well, we appreciate you having it. And I'm glad you brought up a point that we talk a lot about now and we'll dive into this deeper, but I'm going off script right out of the gates, is that, obviously since the pandemic, a lot of our industries change. And what we see is that we have a lot of young trainers and coaches who not only do not know some of these names, but they don't have the reverence that we have for some of those names, and they're missing out on a lot. And so it's part of our mission. Selfishly, we get to talk to our heroes, but as part of our mission to introduce these people, these brilliant minds that we got to get shaped by and mentored by ourselves, and introduce them to this younger generation of trainers.
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you how much money I've spent in my life, in my professional career, going to see all these people speak and buying their books and going to their seminars and certifications and stuff like that. I think it's something that is kind of lost on the current generation to invest in their future. I think Alex Hormozy said, you can invest in the S&P 500 or you can invest in the SME 500. And the investing in yourself never, ever doesn't come with a great return. So, for all the young people out there, if you're just listening to this podcast, obviously this is a great place to start. You got a laundry list of people that are amazing on this podcast, but also just don't be afraid to, invest in yourself and learn from some of the best.
We are the product that we sell, what's in our head. So let's kick it off by talking about having a career in fitness. And we talk to a lot of people who got into the business because they love fitness and they love the idea of helping people, and then they end up frustrated and miserable. I think the stats show like the majority of people are out in 6 to 24 months. And so we lose a lot of good talent. But in IronTribe, you have kind of a unique career path and track for coaches. And tell us a little bit about how that model works, where it's a little different than the traditional things that we see out there.
Yeah, so it really started with this whole perception that when you work in fitness and you go tell people, your friends and family members, you're like, yeah, I'm a fitness coach. What's the next question they ask, right? Well, when are you going to get a real job, right? And for people like us that have been career people for 20 years or so, like this is our real job. And we've made it a real job by, as you guys said, like opening up your own businesses, by just trying to elevate yourself and your knowledge and take on more of a leadership role in fitness. But a lot of people just burn out from the hours, the split shift, gets to people. It's hard to have a family when you're working that split shift. The pay maybe isn't very good, or they have to get benefits at some point, right? And the way that a lot of gyms pay and set up the structure for employment is they treat people like independent contractors. And you basically eat what you kill. You bring in your personal training clients, you coach them, you leave. You might train some people in the morning, in the evening, whatever it is. And it's just not sustainable long term in that model. So what we've done is we've really made the coach the focus of the model. So it is the economic engine that drives our business. It starts with hiring and developing coaches in a career in fitness. A lot of people start with the focus on the client, but we've actually put our focus on the coach. So everything that we do from the time that we start your hiring process and what we're looking for in the interview process is probably really different than a lot of other businesses who might just be looking at the resume and the experience. We're actually looking at the personality and some of the other things that we think are going to be really important to be a great coach that creates great relationships in our model. So we're looking for something different from the start. We want experience, that's great, but to have the right personality and the right experience, we're kind of chasing unicorns a lot of times. And it's very difficult to, when we're talking about scaling the business up to 30 gyms, to be able to find that many people that are unicorns is difficult, right? So from the time we bring them in, our onboarding process is all about developing them in class structure, coaching, and culture, so that they can run our systems really, really well. And that it's a very robust onboarding system to really get them into our systems and culture. But then once you're in, it is a real job. So we put people on a shift. So you're a morning coach or you're a PM coach, and that means you're not bouncing back and forth to the gym. We have amazing benefits for our coaches, and we treat them like any other job. So they have healthcare, and they have retirement, and they have all these other things that a normal person would have in their job. There's a bonus structure that allows them to make enough money that they don't have to run out and get something different. So as the gym grows, as gross revenue grows at the gym, they bonus off that. They share in the wins of the gym. And they're also directly responsible for growing their stable of clients within our Prime program, which is a small group personal training program. So there's lots of different ways that they can win financially within our model. And then beyond that, there's a ton of growth. So not only do you start as kind of this newbie coach, but you develop into a coach that's got a great clientele built in there at the gym. But I've seen countless great coaches turn into managers and be running gyms now and be in charge of people, which obviously brings different responsibilities and different benefit economically for them. I've seen coaches turn into product leaders within different marketplaces. So whereas I oversee the product for IronTribe as a whole, we have 5 gyms in Nashville, and we have 3 gyms in Memphis. So within those marketplaces that are owned by different franchisees, they've tagged their best coaches to lead others and help onboard other coaches within the system. So you can grow that way. And even more amazingly, I've seen coaches turn into franchise owners. So they started as I didn't know anything about fitness, but I loved fitness and I loved people and I loved serving others. And they start coaching. They have such a great passion for it. They get it paired with an investor. and they end up opening their own IronTribe gym. So we've seen that a couple times already, and we're trying to actually expand the opportunity for coaches who want to grow to be actually able to become IronTribe owners in other markets that we're not currently in. So I'm sure other gyms do that. I don't think it's very common. I think it's pretty rare to be able to paint a picture of you can come in and have a real job in fitness and be able to grow within the brand. And we'll give you all the tools and the opportunity to do that.
That's awesome. No, it's definitely something that's unique to the industry for sure. So Kyle, let's say I'm a new trainer or coach. I'm looking for a new job. What are the best strategies to get hired? But also, what are those things that you should not do? I mean, obviously, there's a bunch of weird stuff you shouldn't do. So we're talking about like the common things, right? That you tend to see that you're like, you probably shouldn't have said or done that.
It's funny, if you onboard and hire enough people, like you literally see everything. It's bizarre out there in the real world. The biggest thing I would say, the biggest thing that I'm seeing from the new coaches that are coming in is, first and foremost, is you have to be available. And I can't tell you how many people we've looked to hire. They seem like a good fit, and they're like, I'm going to work from 12 to 4. And it's like, do you know you're stepping into fitness, right? We work when other people are not working. That means, 4 a.m. alarms if you're the morning coach. That means going into the evening if you're the PM coach. This is not a 9 to 5, right? And we know that. So I think that when they don't have a lot of experience and they don't really know what it's like in the real world, they come in and they just have a different expectation of what the work looks like, right? So being available is the most important ability, right? Availability is the most important ability. So being able to just step into the hard work, step into those kind of unusual hours, and be able to deliver in that setting is very important. I think humility is another great thing to have coming in. Our model is different. If I step into SOS, Mike, your gym, your model is different. And no matter how much experience we have to kind of be a chameleon in the sense of, I need to come into somebody else's systems. They run it a different way. Most people come from an hour-long class setting. They step into IronTribe and it's 45 minutes. And that has to do with, our clientele and what they're trying to get out of what we do. If they're not able to adapt, if they don't have the humility to step back and say, I can learn a new system, then it's going to be very, very hard for them. If they want to jam their system into our system, that never works, right? And there's always collision there that's not going to be good for anybody. So the second half of that question was what to not do. I think from a practical standpoint, we always, put people through their paces on the floor before we hire them. We want to see them coach. We want to see them interact with clients. We want to see them program a little bit too, because that's part of our model is they have to take on some programming responsibilities within our semi-private personal training program. The biggest thing I see typically with those new coaches coming in that makes me cringe right away is they over communicate or they over talk on cueing. So we have a saying that don't use 50 words to say what you could have said in 5. They just tend to try to regurgitate as much information as they possibly can when they're trying to teach somebody a new movement or something like that. They over explain anatomy a lot of the times. And it's one of those things that we try to get to the improvement of the movement or the teaching of the movement with the simplest cues possible, external cues versus internal cues. And we like to be a little bit more tactile and a little bit more visual in the way that we cue rather than over explaining everything. So when I see a new coach coming in and they're just talking, the client literally shuts down, right? I'm going to just completely stop listening because you've said too many words. You've bogged me down with too much information, right? So, a good coach coming in will speak less, listen more, and learn to find those cues that get the right result much quicker than just over explaining everything. The other thing I would say is like a lot of times when we see programming coming from new coaches, it tends to be over programmed with fancy things. I think that's the social media effect. a lot of young trainers coming out, they're getting their information off of social media. They don't know how to apply it in the context of working with real people. They're just pigeonholing in all these different things that don't really make any sense within the context of the program. And it ends up overcomplicating everything. So I want to see that they can communicate efficiently on the floor, but I also want to see that they understand fundamental simplicity within programming. And once I see that, I know that I got somebody that we can work with.
So tying together that and the social media piece, we had our live course this past weekend, and always love when we have these aha moments. We talk about like, well, how are you going to get attention and stand out when people are scrolling through, and how they're going to differentiate, why would I work with you versus the next person or go on Orange Theory? And so what we did is we did a mock client interview where one person was the trainer coach and the other one was the potential client starting up with them. And so we did a couple of them. And what we did is we asked people, and then we asked the room to say, okay, well, if you had to train for the most important event in your life, or you had to trust your mom or your dad or your grandmother to train with somebody in this room, who are you going to pick? And why, and what stood out to you about some of the people? And nobody mentioned CSCS or any of the fancy letters or any of that stuff. It was, oh, well, this person had empathy. This person that stood out, they ran a couple marathons. That tells me something about this person. Or this person, had told me a little bit about his life and his family, and I connected with that. A lot of the things that people don't expect that we sometimes think, especially coming in early, that are going to stand out to people and click with them to make them want to work with you. And so my next question is what are some of the attributes that you see that really matter? What makes a trainer successful or a coach stand out?
Yeah, I have evolved. This is probably an area of my career that I've evolved so much, because as a young coach, I was all about technical skills, right? It was all about how much I knew, getting A's in anatomy and getting my master's and then getting the CSCS and getting all these certifications. And it was great for my knowledge and my toolbox. And we talk about the toolbox a lot, right? So when I deal with a lot of different clients, I can pull things out from the kettlebell world or the barbell world or stuff that I learned in FRC and all these different places. And that's great to have the toolbox of technical stuff. But at the end of the day, it didn't help me necessarily connect and create a relationship with a client the way that really matters for them to trust you. And coming from the collegiate world like I did, I didn't really have to do that necessarily. I got kids, they wanted to win, we worked hard, and then we went, right? And it's just a little bit different as I've evolved in my career. I've started to learn that those interpersonal skills are just as important in the toolbox as the ones that I have on the technical side. So as the environment of hiring has changed, it's been very, very hard to find enough good coaches who, like I said, are unicorns, who have the technical knowledge, but who also have the interpersonal skills to be great coaches in the model. So we've had to change our approach in terms of what we're looking for in a successful coach, right? If we're going to hire somebody. And we've dabbled in software a lot, and creating our own custom software for IronTribe. And the software people used to come back to us and say, we have MVP. It's called minimum viable product. And they would be giving us a skeleton of the software. It worked, but it didn't have all the bells and whistles that we needed to run the software. So I started thinking about hiring people and what it really takes to be a great coach in terms of minimum viable person to be a coach, MVP. And it really boiled down. I thought about it a lot, and I really started to think on like all the great coaches that we have in our system, and we have 100 coaches in our system. What do they all have in common, the really, really good ones? And it came down to 5 things. They all love fitness, right? I can't tell you how many coaches are out there that they don't lift, they don't look the part. They don't live and breathe fitness. They're not, that's not what they really care about. It's a job that they have, but it's not their passion. All the best coaches, especially in our brand, they love fitness. They work out in our classes. They're always pursuing goals within the gym. That's really important for us, because if you don't love fitness, this job's going to wear you out real quick. Number two, they love serving others. There's no narcissists allowed, no selfish people. You have to give when you step out on the black. So our floors are black. We call it when you step out onto the black, like you're giving everything that you have, all of your energy, all of your attention, all of your focus is going directly to your clients that day. All the stuff that's going on in your life, and your taxes just came, and your dog is sick, and all this other stuff, like all that falls out of the way, and you step on the floor and you serve others. That's very, very important that you have that mindset. Number three, they work hard and they take initiative. I think that's, I don't know. I'm 41 now, so I feel like the generations have changed, and I don't want to be one of these guys that's like, nobody wants to work anymore. That's what a lot of people say. But when I see somebody come in to the gym and they're like, what can I do next? What can I learn today? How can I help you? They have no problem cleaning the bathrooms in the gym. That sort of stuff is really important, that they take initiative and work hard within those hours that they're at the gym. And it's never a check in, check out sort of job. You're always kind of like focused on your clients. But number four is that they're teachable. So you'll notice out of my list of 5 that extensive strength and conditioning experience or tons of certifications or things like that are not part of the minimum viable person to be a great coach. Because I think if you have enough trust in your systems, then you can, oh geez, I'm getting fireworks behind me. If you have if you have enough trust in your system and your educational pieces that you've built in, then you know that you can take a teachable person and you can turn them into a good coach, right? We'll teach you how to air squat, and we'll teach you how to kettlebell swing, and we'll teach you all these things. We'll send you to certifications. We'll bring in experts within the constructs of the company. Mike's been down a couple of times to IronTribe for CoachCon, and just given us tons of information on programming, being a career coach. But Mike, you focused on the main barbell lifts last year, which was amazing. So we're going to train you up on how to be the best coach possible within our system and be able to handle lots of different clients, but you have to be teachable. And then the 5th one, which was the most, bar none, important thing, is that people have to like being around you. And there's a million different ways to say that. I know you, Mike, you say a lot of times you have to be a certified nice person.
Stole it from Boyle.
Yeah, that's right. So well, just stealing everything. I do the same. I steal a ton of stuff from you too. It's one of those things where you can have all the skills, you can love fitness, you can do all these things, but if you're not outgoing, if you're not smiling, I mean, it sounds cliche, but it's amazing how far smiling goes with clients. We want the clients, when they come into the gym, should be the best part of their day, right? Just like we need to drop everything behind us when we step out onto the black and we coach. The client should be able to come in and drop the stress of their life, the stress of work, all these things, and have 45 minutes of dedicated time for them. And our coaches should be there to support that and make that the most enjoyable experience possible. And that includes telling jokes with them, playing good music, just being generally happy, positive, outgoing people. And that makes everybody's day a little bit brighter. And if they don't have that, man, it's going to be really hard, because then they have to fake it. And we all know that when people step out on the floor and they're faking happy, we can tell, right? You can even tell in a picture if somebody is fake smiling versus real smiling. We know, we have good instincts on that stuff. So in the hiring process, that's what we're looking for. And what it's done is allow us to stop chasing unicorns. We can trust our systems to educate. And then what we try to do is multiply leaders within our business based on how we do things. And the great thing about grabbing those kind of green coaches who don't have a ton of knowledge and wisdom and experience yet is you can kind of mold them in your style, right? So I can kind of like start to clone myself and make lots more little coaches that can do a lot of the same stuff and communicate the same way that I do, which helps scalability within the model. Now, I'm not trying to make a million of me. They all have their own personalities and stuff like that, but I can lead them to the right skills for what we have them do within IronTribe. So that those 5 things I think I've really narrowed down to being the most important things when hiring a new coach. And if they don't have one or more of those things, it's probably not gonna be a great fit.
Yeah, no, and what it does is it sort of filters out a lot of the issues that you may end up dealing with down the road as well, especially if you don't check those boxes. So, all right, we're going to change gears a little bit. So you've also spent a ton of time in the collegiate setting. What is the key sort of contrasts between working in a team setting and the private sector?
Yeah, as an athlete myself, I loved that environment. I loved being a collegiate strength and conditioning coach. And it was one of the hardest decisions I've probably ever made in my entire life, was to leave that position at RPI as the head strength coach and take this gigantic leap of faith and move to Birmingham, Alabama, and start in the private sector with adult group fitness. And there's a lot of reasons why I did that, but in the collegiate environment, it's just a completely different animal when it comes to what the goal is, right? That's the biggest difference. Is when I had 600 student athletes at RPI, we were focused on one thing, and that was winning championships, winning national championships, whether it was Division I hockey, men's and women's, or it was Division III football, lacrosse, baseball, track and field, whatever it was. They all wanted to win. And as an athlete, you respect that. And as a coach, you understand that you have to push them really hard. You have to program well for them. You have to think about their long-term athletic development in terms of freshman year to senior year and getting them to peak in the right seasons and things like that. And doing in-season training is different than off-season training and all this other stuff. But, you know, the other thing that was really different was those RPI students, they're like geniuses. I mean, they're coming in with SAT scores and things that are off the charts, right? They're all going to go be engineers and doctors and crazy stuff like that. So for me, I had to almost over-explain things on the why. Why are we doing this? Why, you know, they wanted to know, because that's just in their nature as high achieving college students. They wanted to know why we were squatting this day and why we were doing hang power cleans and things like that. So I had to be really good at explaining that to them. The biggest difference between going from that environment to the private sector is that all the goals are different, right? The goal is not necessarily winning the national championship. The goal is, I want to lose weight so I look better naked and my spouse is more attracted to me. I want to play with my grandkids in 10 years. I want to do a half marathon for the first time ever. All these different goals coming together, and a lot of them are not performance related. So whereas we're so focused in the collegiate world on performance and durability and all the things that we need to do in that world, the goals change drastically when we're dealing with this vast population, gen pop of older adults. And most of them don't necessarily love working out. So we have to make it enjoyable. I didn't care in the college environment if they left the workout and said, man, that was really fun. I wanted them to be like, man, that was really effective, right? But in the private sector, right, where we have to continuously sell what we're doing with the client who's a paying client, we have to make it enjoyable. We have to make it the best part of their day. We have to definitely get them results. And those results have to match up with their why. And I think that that's a huge thing that we probably do as a brand, probably better than most gyms, is we really dig deep into the why of each client, right? Why are they getting up at 5 a.m. to come into our gym to work out, right? What is that driving force that's getting them to come in and do the hard work? And it's not about winning championships. It's about winning the day, or it's about feeling better about themselves. And it's about achieving these goals that we might have no idea even exist. So we try to dig really deep into that with the clients. And we have to continuously make it enjoyable for them, so that they keep coming back to us.
Hey, everybody, a quick break in the action here. Hope you're enjoying the show, and we appreciate you listening. We're working hard to bring you the highest quality content and best guests every single week. So if you could do us a big favor and go and like and subscribe to the show on whatever platform you get your podcasts on, it would be greatly appreciated. Be sure to listen at the end of the show also to find out more information about our courses, as well as a special discount code for all our listeners. Thanks again, and let's get back to the show. One of the big goals going back into private sector is that a lot of trainers and coaches aspire to opening up their own facility. They say, I don't want to give the overhead, all the profits to somebody else. I should be able to open up my own facility. I have a huge following. And we talk about how great trainers and coaches don't always make great owners. And one of the challenges when you open up a facility, I owned mine for 12 years. Mike has obviously skill strength he's very successful with. But then when you're the founder and the owner, everybody still wants to train with you because you're the name and you're the brand. So when you're talking about what you have with 30 successful clubs, how you build brand, community, culture, and a system where they walk in and they're getting the IronTribe product. They're not getting Mike or Eric or Kyle.
Yeah, I have deliberately kept a very low profile within the business. I think a lot of businesses, they say, the reason we're good is because of this person, right? And we've completely steered away from that. And we say the reason that we're good is because of these systems. So Eric, you put it perfectly when you said systems, because that's how everything goes back to systems. So it's in our core values and in our brand promise that we deliver a consistent experience. And I want you, if you were to walk into IronTribe in Atlanta or Charleston, South Carolina, or Nashville or New Orleans or Birmingham or Louisville, Kentucky, no matter where you go, it should feel like your gym back at home, whatever IronTribe you came from. And we like to compare ourselves, or at least aspire to. We call it being the Chick-fil-A of fitness. So if you guys have been to Chick-fil-A, I know it's more of a Southern thing, and most of our gyms are down in the South, so it makes a little bit more sense. But Chick-fil-A is now up here, so people have a little bit better experience with it. But like when my wife went to Chick-fil-A, she was blown away, one, by the customer service and just by the consistent quality. And she had never experienced it before. And that's what we're aspiring to do. We're aspiring to be the Chick-fil-A of fitness, in the sense of no matter which one you go to, it's the same, right? And one of the ways that we do that is for our power program, which is our large group program. Everybody's doing the same programming flow week to week. So if you're in Birmingham, you're doing the same workout flow as what's going on in Nashville and what's going on everywhere else, right? So that's one of the ways that we stay consistent. But
now, I'm sorry to jump in here because there's some elegance in what you just said there. I think that's important with the Chick-fil-A. And yeah, I'll admit I've had Chick-fil-A. It's fantastic. But the service is really good. And I think the point that needs to be taken home from the owners, because it's easy to kind of be the owner that says, you just can't get good help anymore. There's no good coaches and trainers. Well, listen, Chick-fil-A is hiring from the same teenage and college work pool that all the other places are, where you go in and get disastrous, horrible, shitty service. And somehow they get those same kids to be super nice and cordial and caring. So you're doing something different with the same pool of coaches and trainers that everybody else can't figure out and bitches about, but you're getting them to do what you need them to do.
You know, what's amazing is we've hired coaches directly from Chick-fil-A. Like phenomenal. People that were like, people that were working for Chick-fil-A but loved fitness. We were like, come here, let's do something together, right? And they've been great coaches for us because they understand that. So within our systems, within everything from their onboarding to the continuous development that they do to CoachCon and everything that's going on, we very, very firmly are rooted in the philosophy that methods change, but principles stay the same, right? And we hire based on principles that are in our core values.
Mike, write that down. That would be a good name for a business.
Got it.
We have and we've worked really hard, and being a member of the leadership team at IronTribe for the last 10 years, we've worked really hard on our core values, and we have evolved them multiple times, and we honestly hire and fire to the core values. So if we know that we're bringing in people that live out the core values that we're doing, right? And we know that we have systems built for what we call the 3 C's, which are our class structure, coaching, and culture. And we've built a huge foundation of resources and training for our coaches to be able to do that. Then it's very easy to walk into one of our gyms and see where they're lacking, right? It's not, oh, they're doing it differently, but it's still good, or whatever it is. It's like, this is the way we do it, and here's why we do it. I think it's very, very important that we explain why we're doing it this way. And it's typically because the way we did it before didn't work, and we've made those mistakes before, and now we have a better system. But those things are constantly evolving. So the way that we do it is changing, but the principles always stay the same. And those principles are built around the core values, which are very, very, very important to us, but it's also the 3 C's. It doesn't, if we change, if our CEO and founder, Forrest Walden, tomorrow said, hey, we're going to become cycling studios, we would still have amazing class structure, coaching, and culture. And we've learned how to build the systems in place that support those things so that we can expand this to 30 gyms and hopefully 100 gyms within the next 7 years.
Now, when that works, and before you jump in with your question, Mike, and because I've also worked in both settings, in the team setting, is that when it clicks, when I know I have a team that's going to be successful on the field or court, whatever it is that we try to instill these core values in the team setting, and when they self-correct within the room, if it's always coming from me or always coming from one of the coaching staff, it never clicks. It's when we get that captain or even somebody else who's a senior or just goes and grabs somebody and says, the most important words you want to hear and know when your culture is clicking is, that's not the way we do things around here. So when you can get people that are not you that instill that, that's when the magic happens.
And one of our core values is we hold each other accountable. So right there is exactly what you just said. And we really lean into that. We want our coaches to know, even when we do evaluations and things like that, it's like, if you see your coworker, maybe you're on the PM shift, they're on the AM shift, and you notice something that's off system or not up to speed with what we're doing, then it's up to you to have that very loving conversation. It's not critical, you're doing it wrong. It's more like, hey man, I care about you and I care about this business, and this is the way we should be doing it. Let's talk about it. So we collaborate a lot on that, and we also hold each other accountable to that.
Yeah, no, you have to. I mean, it is so important. If you don't have that aspect, you'll never get anything accomplished. And even if you think you're getting things accomplished, you're actually not. But so let's talk about skill development and gamification and how we can sort of inject that into programming. And that's something that you do a little bit at IronTribe. What does that look like when it's implemented?
Yeah, so I'm not sure. I haven't listened to every podcast that you guys have, but I would assume that you don't have a bunch of CrossFit affiliate owners or CrossFit coaches on here very often. But IronTribe actually started as a CrossFit affiliate back in 2010, and very quickly, for lots of reasons, de-affiliated and went a completely different direction in terms of the business model and things like that. But a lot of and we can say anything we want about CrossFit methodology and things like that, and everybody has their opinions on it and stuff like that. But the two things that they've done extremely, extremely well is they turned fitness and working out into a sport, So it's helped a lot of people unlock their sort of inner athlete and their inner competitor. And as an athlete myself, I love competition, and I love not only competition with others, because that just gets me excited. It's what I grew up doing, and it's still what I still try to play really competitive golf these days and do other things competitively. But a lot of people have found that they enjoy fitness a lot better when it is a little bit competitive, right? And they've also put out there as the highest levels of their sport, those people have bodies that other people want to achieve, right? If you tune into the CrossFit Games, it's great entertainment. Those people have bodies that people want. So people look at that and they say, that style of fitness, whatever it is, they don't even understand it, right? But they say, I want to look like that guy, right? Look how strong they are. Look how fit they are. They have low body fat, muscles bulging out everywhere. The females have that as well. So I don't know, some people might get turned off, some women might get turned off by that look, but it's certainly an aesthetic when you train like that and you're at the highest level, that people strive for. So those two things have really, I think, helped CrossFit staying power. What we've taken from it is, and what we've kept around from that is, we take score during our workouts, and we do things like body composition challenges. We collect data that shows people progress, and it shows people, a number that they can shoot for the next time. So having that score and having it be somewhat competitive, we have a leaderboard and things like that, is something that people strive toward once they get to a certain point of fitness. Now, we don't force everybody to compete in the gym against other people. A lot of times, most of the time with people, especially when they're first starting out, it's me against me, right? I'm trying to get better this workout versus the next time I do this same workout, right? And a lot of times that's all they need to kind of get moving, right? And really kind of fall in love with this type of fitness, because when they see that what took them 4 minutes last time took them 3 minutes this time, that is performance improvement, and that is results for them. The big thing is doing that in a healthy way, right? And there's lots of workouts where we say, hey, what was your score today? Or, what weight did you lift? Or what was your time? Or how many reps did you get? Or whatever it is, where people go, smiley face, just put me down for a smiley face, that's fine too, right? So when people are ready in their life cycle as an IronTribe client, right? When they're ready to start incorporating some more, hey, I'm gonna compete against my buddy who's in the next class, or I want to really beat my time from before from a pre-test, post-test workout standpoint. We encourage them to do that, because that competition brings out a lot of that. So there's other things that we do, like in terms of, we celebrate just how many times that they've come during the month, and things like that. Just putting numbers to that sort of stuff and making it sort of a competition is one of the ways that we just keep great engagement with our clients. The other part of that question was skill development. And we just found that people who are striving to do new things and unlock new skills are much stickier clients. And there's a ton of models out there that try to dumb everything down so that the coaching aspect of it is very much less important. So, they might even have video screens just showing demos of the exercise, or they're just focused on doing very, very basic body weight movements and things like that. All that stuff is fine, but we find that people, once they can do everything within that program, they get very bored. And that's why I think people are very fickle when it comes to fitness, and they bounce around to different programs. Like, hey, I'm going to do Orange Theory for a little while, then I'm going to go do F45, and then I'm going to go do a boot camp, and then I'm going to maybe just work out on my own in the gym and stuff like that. It's just, they get bored. With the skill development piece at IronTribe, it's a huge part of our methodology in terms of, we don't want you to be bored. We want you to constantly be striving to learn new techniques get better at your techniques, have progressive overload, which is part of our strength training. But like, we include Olympic weightlifting, not for the sake of we're trying to turn anybody into Olympic weightlifters, but I can't tell you how many clients have said, I'll never touch a barbell. And then 4 years later, and we have clients that have been with us for well over a decade, 4 years later, they're working on their snatch and they love it. They're going to weightlifting meets. They said they'd never use a barbell, and now they're going to weightlifting meets. Or they said they'd never do a pull-up, and then in 4 years later, they're doing muscle ups. So it's one of those things where obviously that stuff's not for everybody. Can you do that in a way that's super smart so that you're not injuring people, you're not pushing people to do things that they're not ready for? There's a movement screen that goes along with that, so we know what they're capable of. And then there's a progressive system of teaching and learning so that they can do that stuff. I mean, Mike, I know you would say the same thing about kettlebell skills, right? It takes a long time to learn really good kettlebell skills. I mean, Brett Jones says, I almost did a perfect swing one time, right? We're not going for perfection, but unlocking new skills is a great way to help clients on their journey to loving fitness and sticking around and being with us for a really long time, because that's what we want. We want consistent long-term clients who are part of our community.
So there's a lot of gold in what you just said there, Kyle. Going even back to what you're talking about CrossFit, and it's easy to shit on them, but they did a couple things in that. One, their culture is tremendous, almost cult-like. And then the second thing is that people kind of forget who are the population that was not doing personal training and what it looked like when they walked into the gym. It was go on a cardio machine for 30 minutes and then go do the series of stationary machines and do 3 sets of 10. And they changed that. They added calisthenics. They got people involved more in weightlifting and doing different things. So they changed the culture of what people are comfortable doing in the gym. So I applaud them for that. And then going into the gamification thing, one of our most popular episodes going early was Rhett Larson. And he talked a lot about gamification and the power of that. And it could be something as simple as like you're having somebody doing jump rope on 30-second repeats and say, okay, I want you to count your touches this time. And now if you got 50 this time, you got to get 51 next time. And it changes the whole atmosphere. It changes their whole approach to it, as opposed to like, how many more of these do I have, to like, all right, I'm getting 52 this time. And, when you look at gamification on the grandest scale there is, probably one of the biggest fitness brands of the last decade is Peloton. And they really capitalized on gamification. And hey, I can see my friends on there and I can compete with my friends. And that's what kind of kept you going. It's really just a bike with a TV on it. And they figured out, how do I gamify this and create a culture around it, and created a multi-million dollar business off of it.
Yeah. And I try to be, to go back to the CrossFit thing, I try to be like very agnostic about how I feel about, this program or that program. Same thing with nutrition, right? It's like this diet versus that diet and stuff like that. It's like, these are all tools in the toolbox that we can draw from. And to say that we haven't drawn a ton of great stuff from CrossFit, just like we've drawn a ton of great stuff from powerlifting and from other areas, bodybuilding. That's a big thing for us now, is like people, we do a lot of great strength training stuff and functional movement and all that. But what we found is that over time, we have more and more people, the pendulum is swinging a little bit, where people are like really enjoying bodybuilding. And now they call it functional bodybuilding. And it always cracks me up when people will say, hey, have you tried functional bodybuilding? And it's like, okay, functional bodybuilding is what we called strength and conditioning for combat sports or collision sports, right? You had to put on slabs of muscle to play football and to play lacrosse and to play hockey, because that would help you absorb the impact of what you were doing. We wanted you to be strong, but we also needed some muscles on there, right? And that's what functional bodybuilding really is. When I look at those programs, they look exactly like the same stuff I was doing back in the college, back in the day, but now it's like this in vogue term, functional bodybuilding. So I try to be like really agnostic and like not be too judgmental of this style or this style or this style, because there's people out there that love all those different styles, whatever it is. And those are just tools that we can use to really get results.
So two quick things before your question, Mike. You know what they used to call functional bodybuilding in the 70s and the early Arnold days? They used to call it bodybuilding.
Bodybuilding.
Because back in the day, you actually had to
Yeah.
do a powerlifting meet prior to before going on stage in your underwear. So they had to be like Franco Columbu and all, they were insanely strong. I
they're
mean,
great lifters.
Yeah.
and so they were in like the back in the day, your old incline benches didn't have seats. So if you wanted to incline press 315, you had to clean it so you could actually incline press 315. So, you know, that functional bodybuilding back in the 70s was bodybuilding before a whole industry came and said, hey, we could sell a bunch of machines on this thing. And then the other thing, and I actually said it the other day at our course, is that so we get so far with that pendulum the other way is that, you know, I said, all right, our bicep curls functional. And I said, yeah, you know, it's function they serve to make me look good in my t-shirt. That's their function. And so that's not a bad thing either, because a lot of people walking in your door would like to have that too.
Yeah, we found more and more. It's just like, I mean, hey, when you really start digging into somebody's why are you coming to the gym, right? Well, I want to get stronger and I want to be fitter and I want to be healthier. Oh, great. What else? Well, and you start asking like that kind of that 5 whys exercise. You just keep asking why, and then it ultimately gets to I want to have more self-confidence and I want to look better naked. And what's wrong with doing some bodybuilding to have people achieve that goal, right? Absolutely nothing. So we've been able to, with our private training program and our personal training program, incorporate lots of that stuff, and people love it. That's the thing. And we want people to love fitness, and sometimes getting a good pump is what keeps them coming back.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, you know, like a lot of coaches that have been around for a while, pandemic, it basically screwed everybody up. And discuss some of the biggest changes you've seen from the landscape of like new coaching and how the marketplace have changed. And essentially, how do you feel the pandemic impacted, obviously more so the sector that you're in with IronTribe?
Well, I'll tell this story until I'm old, very, very old, and gray. But when the pandemic first hit and the shutdown happened, right? It affected everybody. It affected our gyms down south probably a lot less than it affected the gyms in the Northeast. But essentially, you had two different choices, right? You could complain and feel bad and just say we're going to pause everybody and just shut down and hey, everybody take a break and we'll come back in a few weeks when they tell us to, or a week. They thought it was going to be a week at first, then ended up being way longer than that. Yeah, right. I will give 100% credit to our CEO who said that's not what we're going to do. What we're going to do is we're not pausing anything. We're just going to change the way we do business. And we literally pivoted within a 48-hour period. We had never done a live workout on Zoom or on Facebook, right? We had never allowed clients to take equipment from our gym and take it home to their garage. We had never done the high touch reach outs from our coaches to our clients. I mean, we had done that stuff, but not at the level of, hey, every few days. We had never done online nutrition help for our clients. We just didn't have these resources available. And we started, as soon as we knew that this was happening, we said, we're not going to pause a single membership. We're going to continue to serve the clients as best as we can through this difficult situation. Within 48 hours, I had gone from my garage up here in Haverhill, Massachusetts. I had gone from my garage live multiple times, running workouts from home with no equipment that anybody could sign on. All of our clients could sign on and they'd have a link and they could, we built a studio within our corporate office where we could just go live. And we put equipment in there and we did all this stuff. The clients were coming to the gym, taking all the equipment, taking a kettlebell and a barbell and some plates home so they could do all this stuff. And it allowed us to stay viable during a time when the contracture of the industry was immense, right? So I think it's I hear varying percentages, maybe 40% of the gyms in that time closed. We still hang our hat on, no gym employee of ours got laid off during that entire time, because we just put them to work in different ways, going live and reaching out to clients and just trying to serve in a completely different way. That was like, we learned a lot from that. And it also was the main driver of, we had a very kind of like low barrier of entry, low skill, high intensity interval training program. We called it Push. And it would be what you'd experience if you went to Orange Theory or something like that. It's just, let's get really sweaty, and let's work hard for 30 minutes and then go home, right? Didn't have that skill development piece that we talked about before. It was the main driver, the pandemic was the main driver of us saying, you know what? Those clients don't stick around with us long term. It's very hard to compete in that, what we call red ocean, where there's just a million other people doing the same exact thing. We're going to pivot and we're going to double down on small group personal training. And we're going to double down on the things that we really do well in our power program, which is our large group program. And a lot of that includes, what we do with the barbell and the skill development stuff that we do. And we said, this is going to be our new business model. That was the main driver, was the pandemic, of making that happen. It allowed people to step back into our gyms and feel confident. If they didn't want to be in a large group, they could step into the small group environment and keep their distance. So it was really just such a huge disruptor of the industry. I think the same way that we're seeing the disruption in the industry from the current trend in weight loss drugs. I don't know if you guys have experienced that as well, but like when we're dealing with Gen Pop people, that their main goal typically is especially when they first walk into our doors, is to lose weight. Like, we have to have a stance on what's going on with Ozempic and Wegovy and all this other stuff. It's a huge disruptor. And as soon as I saw that it was going to be super effective for weight loss, I was like, we better get in front of this thing, right? And like I said before, like, we try not to be judgmental. If you want to use that as a tool to lose weight, then we're here to support you in fitness and nutrition while you're doing that, right? We're not doctors, we're not prescribing anything like that, but we're here to support you in healthy choices if you decide to do that. I think a lot of gyms went into it saying, no, you can't do that. That's cheating. That's the easy way out. That's the magic pill. Like, you shouldn't be doing that. If you just had more discipline, you could do all this same stuff. And just like, people are like, that's not the message I want to hear. I want to be supported. So those two things in the past 5 years is just, those are two huge shakeups to the industry, from the pandemic and now this. You have to be able to evolve. And the great thing about IronTribe right now is we're not so big that we can't evolve and pivot and make changes to what we're doing. If you think about the analogy of the giant ship trying to turn around, right? We're just a little boat and we can go anywhere we want. So methods change, right? It's, what a crazy time we live in, right?
Well, it's not that necessarily any of that was positive, but to kind of take a spin on it from the quality standards of the industry, is that there's the people who have survived this are only the ones who are really good, the ones who have really good systems, who are really talented. And then if you got washed away by it, for the most part, it's because you didn't set yourself up to be sustainable. And so to have some of the systems and the attributes that you've been talking about the whole time have been great. And so moving forward, kind of talk a little bit before we go about what's next. What's next on the horizon for IronTribe as well as yourself?
Yeah, we have very ambitious goals in terms of growth. So, my job right now is to think like $100 million brand. And like right now, that's a long ways off. That's a goal for us in 2030. So we've set some big long-term goals. But I have to think about everything in terms of if we did have 100 units and we were that big, how would we be doing things differently than we are now, right? And for me, a lot of that has to do, a lot of my job right now is trying to simplify as much as possible and put systems behind everything that we do, and then put those systems in a platform that's very easily accessible and easily referenced for resources for all of our coaches. So really that's, the majority of my job is spent doing that at this point. From other stuff that we have going on, we have this huge event coming up in May, on May 3rd, called Workout for Water. So I'm getting ready for that. That's a huge fundraiser for us. Again, it goes back to our culture and our core values. We're giving back is one of the things that we build into all of our gyms, and all of our gyms participate in this thing called Workout for Water. And we raise money for this company called Never Thirst. This is a shameless Never Thirst plug, by the way. But it's one of the best charitable organizations that I've ever seen. They build clean water wells in third world countries. So that's coming up in May. And then in June, we have our third ever Coach Con, where I'm going to bring all 100 coaches to Birmingham, and we are going to have a theme this year, which is business within a business. So the last 2 years, we've done a lot of technical stuff in our Coach Con, and this year they're going to all come to Birmingham for 2 days and get developed on how to grow themselves within the business, the growth path, how to get more clients, how to improve their efficiency when it comes to programming, all these different things. It's a fantastic 2 days of camaraderie and learning together, and that's in June. And so we're 10 weeks away from that, and there's a ton of prep that goes into that. So that's what I'm working on.
Awesome. Well, we certainly appreciate your time and everything you've contributed today. Mike, any closing thoughts before we let everybody go here?
No, it's always good to catch up with Kyle. He's one of those guys that, one of the best out there. Not too many people know about him, but he's definitely one of the brilliant minds out there, and is always, willing to learn and just striving to get better. So it's always good to learn from you. Thanks for coming on, bud.
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me. It's really been a pleasure. I just love talking shop, and I love listening to you guys talk shop on your podcast too. So thanks for having me on.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate it. And we thank you for listening. And this has been the Principles of Performance podcast.
Thank you for listening to the Principles of Performance podcast. If you've enjoyed our content, please like and share on your social media outlets, as well as subscribe and give us a review on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or whatever your preferred platform is to listen to. For more information on the Principles of Program Design courses and workshops, visit us at www.principlesofprogramdesign.com and follow us on all of the social media channels where we post new content every day. To save 10% on any PPD courses, enter the discount code PRINCIPLESPODCAST10 at checkout. If you have any questions we can answer or suggestions for the show, you can email us at info@principlesofprogramdesign.com or message us on social media. Thank you again for your support.